Testing, testing, testing. All right. It is now 1 o'clock, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Can everyone in the back hear me okay? You're all good? Okay, great. So before I invite Etta up, I want to just briefly go through the agenda for today. There were some agendas up here, but I'll go through just in case you didn't get one. We'll do the prayer and welcome, as always, and then we'll invite Cher up to tell us where we're at with independent living and residential living occupancy. And then Tasha's going to talk about our life enrichment program, focusing on September and early October programming. And Tasha will stay up and cover occupancy and any other items in assisted living. And then we'll invite Chaplain Etta back up to come and talk about spiritual life programming. After that, we'll have Siobhan, our administrator of Porter McGrath, come up and talk about occupancy and programming in Porter McGrath. And then I'll complete my report, and then we'll be available to take any comments or questions. You do not have to wait until the end for comments or questions. If something comes to mind and you want to ask or you want to share something, please just raise your hand and do so. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Etta, our chaplain, Dr. Etta Owens.
He did that on purpose because I'm still trying to get used to that.
That's right.
Let's bow our heads for a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, our sovereign God, Almighty Maker, our Creator, our source, our strength, our joy. God, we look to you, the author and finisher of our faith. We thank you for the opportunity that we have to communicate with you in prayer. We know that if we center our lives, listen to your voice, that you will lead us through all the valleys and mountaintops of our lives experience. We thank you for this privileged community in which we live, a place where we can freely exercise our faith and share our testimonies with one another. We thank you that everyone who comes here feels your love and your presence among us. Now we ask that you would be with us in our conversations and in our deliberations. Be with us in all that we say and do, that we might always bring you glory. God, we bless your name. We magnify you. We glorify you. We thank you for the precious gift of your Son, Jesus, the one who leads us to salvation, the one who offers forgiveness freely, the one who loves us more than we love ourselves. Continue to express your love to us and help us to extend that love to others, those that we live next door to, those that live across from us, those that we meet on our path through our daily work and our lives. May we always walk in the path that you set before us with your love as our anchor. We bless you. We praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Etta. So with that, I'd like to welcome Cher and share with us the good news.
And it is good news. Can you hear me?
Oh.
Is that on?
Here.
Now, can you hear me now? Good, good. I do have good news. Next Wednesday in the chapel at 10 o'clock, we're having a Dine and Discover. We sent out invitations. We have 35 people coming. So we're hoping that they'll get to see all of you because you're the best part of the tour. They're going to learn a lot about our community at 10 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, we're going to go on the bus. We're hoping the bus is back and the air conditioning is working, so hope for that with us. And then they'll be in the dining room with you. So when you see 35 people, new faces coming into the dining room, those are hopefully our next new residents. So it was a good postcard, and we got a good reaction to this one, so we're looking forward to it. So here's the good news. Year-to-date, life occupancy fee move-ins, 3,125,400. We have 217,500 contracted scheduled to move in. We have 376,500 contracts pending, awaiting a medical review and a financial update application. So that's 594,000 contracted and contracts pending. That's year-to-date life occupancy fee collection of 3,719,400 pending move-ins, which is 1,334,400 more than 2022 total year-to-date. Scheduled move-ins, we have Mary Acevedo scheduled to move into 804 Lakeside Court. A new kitchen is being installed, so we'll be a while on that. And Dr. Alan Harvey scheduled to move into 802 Lakeside Court. New sunroom being installed there. This month, usually I love it when we have at least one new person on the waiting list every month, but last month we got 4 new people on the waiting list. All of whom would like to move within the first of next year, so that's good news. We've had 35 residents transfer on site this year, 35, and 22 move-ins. We have 2 notices to vacate, a triplex, which we are getting tomorrow or the next day, and a house, which we'll be getting the keys to next week. And we have 1 house and 1 duplex unsold. The duplex is going to get a new sunroom, so that'll be about a 12-week period. And we have 8 apartments unsold. Thank you.
That wasn't very encouraging. Can you guys hear me? Oh, there we go. Well, I'm surprised the tapping didn't work on that. Oh, right. Thank you, Cher. I'm so proud of you guys, you and Susan. I just couldn't be more proud. Thank you for supporting our community and just sharing it with others so that they can experience what we do. Assisted living update. So our occupancy is very good. We did expand it. So you guys in the past have heard me say it's out of 47 units. So we unlocked one. So it's out of 48 now. So we have 44 out of 48 units occupied, which leaves us 4 in the Howland Delay by the dining room. So that puts us at a 91%. This will go up by next month. As usual, we've kind of seen the trending upwards in assisted living. We did hire a part-time LPN 3 to 11. For those of you that come to this meeting every month, you know that we have been looking for an LPN 3 to 11 for a long time. We are thrilled. She is somebody that worked in PMG a couple years ago and is coming back to the assisted living side. We are just really, really happy with that. We've got some really good programming. September, I'm going to do a little quiz. Does anybody know what we observe in September, what September is? It is that's a good one. Miss Whitmer said Grandparents' Day, which is true, but it is also Fall Prevention Month, which is more exciting to people like me. We had some very colorful, good answers. I really like that. Thank you guys for your participation. On the 8th, we are doing our annual Fall Prevention seminar with Lisa and Allison. They partner together. At 1 p.m., they'll be in the game room, and at 2:15, they'll be in MacArthur. So they're kind of going on tour that day with the fall prevention message, which we are proud to present. On the 25th at 3 p.m., we've got Bethany's cello program. So she kind of does the cello with the storytelling, a really lovely event. So you guys will want to put that on your calendar. And then I'm jumping to October a little bit. On the 5th, which is a Thursday, October 5th, we have the Country Western Barbecue. So get out your jeans and your jackets and your hats. We will be dressing up. RSVPs are required, so you guys will start seeing more of that in the scoop as we move forward. And then I'm going to connect back with the voter registration so that we can have a presentation here in the fall of how to register, where your voting location is, and get that together for you. That's all I have for you. Do you have any questions or concerns or fun things you'd like to see? All right, well, I'm going to hand it back to the illustrious Dr. Etta Owens.
All right, and you're not getting paid, so it's okay. Well, we've got quite a list going. I'm excited, first of all, that we have got brand new members on our spiritual life committee, which is a huge, huge help for me in the chaplain's office, because then you don't rely on me for ideas. It's the community, and we're well represented. We have to sit boy, girl in our meetings, but it works out great. We've got some great experience, a lot of wisdom and knowledge coming to that group. So out of that group, going forth in this year, you're going to see a lot of things that are happening on campus. One of the things I want to report, first of all, though, is from our school drive. We did over $2,500 in school supplies that we divided between Jesse King Elementary and Oscar Pope Elementary, both schools who were rated D for last year. We tried to partner with schools who really needed the help. And then on top of that, we had gift cards that were given. We had over $800 worth of gift cards, Walmart gift cards, and $25 increments that were given, and we divided between the schools. I got a report back from Lisa, who is our community liaison for the Title I program at Jesse King. She called me yesterday and gave me a report of how thrilled the students were to receive their supplies. Many of them did not have supplies. They also, I didn't know this, but their school, out of her office, actually partners with helping parents in need during events such as hurricanes. So during the hurricane, they actually had to house 5 families, and they put them in motel rooms, the motels that have the kind of a mini kitchen there, not anywhere to cook, but they used the part of the gift cards to give to those families so that they could have food for those weeks. And I thought that was excellent that she gave me a report. She said the families actually brought receipts back to her, and some of the families had received some cash stipend from their school, and they actually brought the change back, which you never hear of that. So I was thrilled to hear that, and going forward in the year, I told her to just stay in touch with us and see what we can do to continue to partner with them. Well, you know how that goes when you stay in contact with people who are busy, then they give you something to do. So the school now has put me on the school advisory board for Jesse King. So I'm thrilled about that, though, because I needed something to fill in my time now that I'm not dissertation writing. And I'll keep us in contact of what's going on since they're a school in our neighborhood. Remember, we're a community organization. Our arms stretch wider than just our campus, and they're just across the lake from us, about a good 10-minute drive from us. So I'm excited about that. We have requests. Oh, yes, Lynn, I'm sorry. Thank you, Lynn. And as I'm meeting with the school, I'll bring back opportunities if anybody wants to partner with me in doing some school activities and volunteering. We'll be happy to do that as well. We did get a few requests from residents. I shared with them that I began my Bible study for the fall at my church last night, and it went really well. And residents are asking, can we start on campus? So we're toying with the idea of having an evening Bible study. So you all let me know or report to our Spiritual Life Committee what you feel about that, having an evening Bible study. And we're going to look at doing it in blocks of 6 to 8 weeks on a topic. And then we'll get a respite to prepare for the next block, and we'll carry it on that way. So let me know, or someone in Spiritual Life, if that's something you would like to participate in. But the idea was tossed, instead of doing it in the daytime, we've got so many things to compete with in the daytime, if maybe we did an evening. Now, evening for me means 5:30, 6 o'clock. Evening for you might be different, so you need to let me know what that means as well. And the idea was to come to the Four Bunker living room area as a gathering place and have discussion there around the living room area there. September, as Grace said, is Grandparents' Day coming up actually on Sunday, and I've got a little treat for you. Even if you're watching from your room, you'll get something in your bulletin, a little treat just to recognize grandparents. And even if you're not a biological grandparent, you've been a grandparent to many of our staff, to me as well, and to others in your community. So we're celebrating everybody who has a touch of gray hair. That's how you qualify. If you just got a touch, now if you're dying, and I'm sorry, you got to have a touch, just a touch of gray hair, and you're going to get a treat for there. In October, we're going to pick up really fast because we got Clergy Appreciation coming that month. And always for Clergy Appreciation, it's not your time to appreciate me. I don't do it that way. It's actually our time to appreciate you, especially those who've served in the church, those who are still serving in the church or serving in the community. But we celebrate all together so no one's left out. We will have community communion in October, and afterwards we will have a family gathering for dinner. That's all going to be sponsored, so it'll be at no cost to any of you. So I'm encouraging you to come out. The communion will be ecumenical, and I am asking my elders, and you know who you are, if you're available and you can help me out with the serving of communion. We won't do the little prepackaged COVID cups. I think we're past that now. We're going to actually serve communion, so I'm going to need your help with that. And you feel free to come, invite a friend or family member, and then have dinner with us, and you'll get RSV reservations for that, so at least I'll have a head count. But we'll have the dining room decorated, and we're really going to enjoy ourselves that evening. And then 2 weeks from that, we will have a gospel comedian actually is going to be coming to do a program in the chapel, and we'll have refreshments in the breezeway after that. So we're going to be doing a lot of communal things where we're going to be rubbing elbows and getting to know one another and reacquainted with one another. The Joyful Singers are going to start back their rehearsals in October, and Deanne's already got her schedule already ready. She's got her pages printed, and we've already got some dates on the calendar. So that'll be coming forth as Jerry and Carol get back to campus that first week of October. And then we're going to move into Advent really quickly from there. Your Advent devotionals have already been ordered. We had a theme picked out, and it was kind of funny. For those in spiritual life, I may not have shared it with all of you. We were doing a theme that has a cover that has hearts on it for Christmas. It was very pretty, and it was advertised at a great price. And I thought, okay, let's take it to vote. And we voted, and those were the ones. Well, they actually came in, and they're not even pocket sized. Like, they're very, very small. And so we had a second place that we voted on. It's Amazing Grace. And so Amazing Grace is going to be our devotionals. And I know you're going to be pleased with those because a lot of the themes for the Advent season will tie into that. Any questions for me? Because I tried to use up some of Joe's time in case y'all didn't notice. But any questions or comments for me? Yes, Jay.
Going back to the Bible study.
Yes.
Is that going to be an actual Bible study, or are we going to get books that you have to do?
Well, we'll actually do a Bible study. We're going to pick a topic to begin with, and we'll do scripture around that topic with open discussion and kind of dive deep into some things on that sense. I'm not too keen on following with a book because a book limits us. And we've got different denominations that are represented, and I don't want to get into doctrine and discipline of different denominations. I want it to be a true discussion of how Jesus would lead us in those ways. So we're going to pick topics that really affect us in today's time. We're going to talk about things that would affect us and help us to be better followers of Christ, help us to be better Christians, help us share our testimony better, help us be able to witness better so that we really are the reflection of who God would have us to be. And I'm facilitating, I'm not leading, I'm facilitating, which means if you don't talk, then I won't talk. That's how that group's going to go. Any other questions? Okay, that leaves Joe quite a bit of time, y'all. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you all so much. And again, thank you for the school supplies. The schools were just overwhelmed with what we did in reporting for that. You all really came through as you always do. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. With that, I will introduce our administrator, Siobhan.
Good afternoon. How is everyone? Good? Good. The occupancy for the healthcare center as of today is 52 residents. We have about 15 short-term residents, which means they're here for therapy. We have 2 admissions coming today, so tomorrow will be 54 if no one leaves us. We have been working really, really hard at hiring nurses. I've talked about it in previous months about how many nurses we have been down and how we have struggled to hire nurses. I really can't tell you what has turned around, but something has turned around, and we actually started getting more applicants. And so 2 months ago, we were open 10 positions, 10 nursing positions. That's not CNAs. That's nurses. So we now, as of today, I talked to our recruiter, and we actually only have 1 part-time position open. So it's a good day. And so along with hiring all those people, we have we're scheduling some training for the new nurses They get training on the floor, they get training on the computer training before they start, but we want to keep the training going so they can learn as much as they can learn. So this month, our director of nursing has talked about doing some training on pain management. I know that all of you probably, or most of you, struggle with some kind of pain. And when you come into our facility, we want to make sure we are managing that pain. And so we are going to reach out and see if we can get some training on pain management. The other main issue at this point is that we are going to do some advanced training on medication administration so that they continually get that training and become knowledgeable of our system, first of all, because it is a computerized system that they pass meds from. So we are going to provide them with extra training on those two subjects for this month. And this now, I believe, is month 18, if I'm right, that we are waiting for the state survey. So remember, in previous months, I've said they have 12 to 15 months to come in and do your annual survey for PMG. It's now 18 months. So I know and am aware that they have become very busy, that they have to actually respond to every single complaint that comes through their office. So a majority, I believe, of their time is right now being spent on answering those complaints. So they have to come into the facilities if there is a complaint filed. So we will just patiently wait. It gives us more opportunity to get organized, stay organized, train the new staff, make sure they feel comfortable when the state comes in, and all we can do is wait. Does anybody have any questions for me? Okay. Well, I am going to hand it over to our wonderful CEO, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to cover a couple of topics that aren't on the agenda that I thought would be helpful for everybody. David Larson's last day is next Wednesday. So we are recognizing David here in 4 Bunker Family Room at 1 o'clock. So please, if you can make it and share with David your thoughts of appreciation and recognition for him in his last day here. He will tell you at that point where he's going and share that information with you, but I wanted him to be able to do that himself. So hopefully you'll be able to join us for that. That would be great. David has served this community amicably and well for all the years he's been here, which is about 4.5 years. And I'll probably say this again when David is, when we're acknowledging David. When he started here, I had been here for, I think, about 1.5 months. And before I started, I received the board received the resignation of the chief, or the director of finance. And so we reached out into the community and the contacts out in our field, and we found that David was doing some consulting. So he was in between positions, and he was taking on the responsibility of being an interim. And we brought David in as an interim CFO, and we kept getting applicants, and I kept thinking, David, why aren't you applying? David, why aren't you applying? And one day he knocked on my door and he said, you know what? I think I'm going to apply. And I said, well, what took you so long? It was probably about a week, but I said, what took you so long? And David was the best candidate by far. And his understanding of our field, his understanding of our residents, he's done really good things here. And I know Scott is here from the board. The board has received information at a level from David that they've never received in the past. And I know you all hear David when he's presenting to you financials, which isn't always the most fun topic, but David covers it beautifully and is just very, very solid. So he will be missed, and we wish him well, and his wife Anna as well. We have the group from Westminster, Terry Rogers and his executive leadership team from Westminster will be here on Thursday. So I want to make sure, if you registered to attend the lunch that was canceled due to Idalia, please resubmit your reservation to Thelma. Don't assume, well, I signed up for it when it was supposed to be last week. Please go back and submit your reservation for the next lunch, which will be Thursday. And the residents serve will be at 11 o'clock in the main dining room. If you haven't made reservations yet and you intend to do so, please do so. It's on a first come, first served basis because we can only seat 120 residents in the main dining room. Then after that, they'll be hosting our employees for lunch. So that's why we have the two seatings. So please, if you haven't registered, you intend to do so, or if you registered for the last scheduled luncheon, please register again so we have an accurate number. And we will also be doing that day the chat with Terry Rogers. And so Terry and his team will be here at 1 o'clock on Thursday here in the chapel. And I'll basically introduce Terry, and then Terry will introduce his team and talk about their vision for Florida Presbyterian Homes. I want people to understand they're not going to have all the answers in that meeting. So they're still learning our organization. They're still learning their way around. You may see on campus different people coming onto the campus and meeting with our staff team members to get to know the departments. Like today, we've got the Vice President of Accounting and Finance is here on the campus with her team, meeting with David and Linda and our finance and accounting team. So we're having the transition plan is in place, and we're meeting and communicating with our counterparts in the parent company. So that is underway. The meeting that we have here in the chat will be an opportunity to get to know Terry and to get to know his team. But if you ask specific questions, he's not going to have all the answers in that first meeting. They're still getting acclimated. So give them some grace and time in doing that. There's what's going on out here. If you've looked outside, they're doing the speed bump. That's what's going in out here. The speed bump we learned today is going to be different than what a normal speed bump is. The difference is there'll be a gaping hole in the middle of it for ambulances and emergency vehicles to get through without hitting the bump. So you'll see almost one on either side, but a hole through the middle. So we can all watch outside the window, so when we see two cars coming and both try to hit the middle, that is going to be alarming. That will be alarming. But this is something new that the traffic department said this is the new state-of-the-art speed bump. And lucky us, we're going to get it, right on our front door. So hopefully the majority of people will abide by staying in their lane and going over the bump, and only the ambulances, fire department, paramedics, and police will use the middle. They have told us they are not replacing the light. We continue to communicate, and I know we have a number of residents that are also communicating. Appreciate that with the city. about installing a new light at the corner that we can push the button and get the blinkers going so that people can cross safely. The big concern that we have with that is we know eventually they're going to do a renovation of they're going to build a promenade across the lake where Sykes is. And that'll become the walking path where Sykes is. Because I know a lot of our residents, and when I used to walk the lake when I lived here, Sykes is not a great place to walk because of the cars zooming by and the potential of somebody going up over the curb. So the city has invested a lot of time in planning to build a new walkway and a promenade that goes over part of the lake, right on the edge, to get clear from Sykes, to make that a nice walkway. When they do that, there's going to be more people walking from our Dixieland neighborhood to get to that. So hopefully between us and the group of residents that are working to educate the city on the concern, hopefully at some point we'll get that light back in play here. We think that's really important for your safety, and we also believe there's going to be more people coming from the neighborhood who wants to do that walk once they build that out. That was projected to be built out in 2 years. So that was the schedule that I heard, and if anybody learns anything different, let me know. But I heard it'd be 2 years before that was completed, along Sykes. I hope not. Yeah, I hope not. I'm not sure, Landis. If you may know before I do, let me know if you hear anything. But yeah, that's something that is of a concern. There's another thing I want to share that isn't on the list, and I've talked to you guys a little bit about it over past meetings. The city of Lakeland does not have a comprehensive senior center. A senior center that has resources and programs and space for older adults, specific to older adults. The Catholic Charities does a wonderful job with the nutrition program, but it's not a comprehensive senior center. So I was asked by Age Friendly Lakeland and Lakeland Vision to facilitate the effort to develop a senior center for Lakeland. So I've been working with a committee, an exceptional committee, with representation from Catholic Charities, from VISTI, from RATH, from the hospital, elected officials, former elected officials. It's a very strong steering committee. We are at the place now where a subcommittee of that steering committee has defined all of the programs that would be located in the center. So now we're taking that information, which was approved by the steering committee, and we're presenting that to an architect, and Carol Phillipson, who's on our committee, is going to do a layout plan so we can see how much square feet for each program that was defined that'll be in the center. We've already got some organizations that have stepped forward and say we want to lease space in the center, which is great. So that'll create a revenue stream for the center that'll be a positive. We've got a committee that's been working with GiveWell, and GiveWell has identified a number of people that they believe would be strong philanthropic supporters for the development of the senior center. I just before this meeting, I got off the phone, I think it's Andy Crutchfield. He wants to be Crossfield. He wants to be involved in this effort. So we're getting a real strong commitment. We have a commissioner that's on the steering committee. The city's very positive and open to it. So I really believe this is going to happen. And, every time we think, what about funding? GiveWell steps forward and says, don't worry about funding. We know that there's people who will be interested in this. So the value to our residents, it'll be another amenity for all of you to utilize as well. It'll be another resource for all of you to utilize that'll benefit you and your lives. And so we're really excited. Our commitment as an organization is only my time. We are not, we've not committed money to say we're going to fund anything. No, this is strictly our board. As Ed has said, we are a community ministry, and it extends to all older adults. And this is an opportunity for us to live that ministry out in the broader community and still benefit our own residents, which is perfect, which is exactly where we should be. Please.
Has the site been determined?
No, great question. The question was, has a site been determined? I'm from Chicago. Who was the architect that said form follows function?
Who has 14 buildings here in Lakeland?
Yeah. No, it wasn't Frank Lloyd Wright. No. So what we followed was the architect, was it Dearborn? We followed the architect's statement, form follows function. So the first thing we've done is identified, we did a survey among all older adults. We got 860 responses, and I thank Pat for helping us put that survey together. The older adults told us what they wanted. So we used that to determine what programs, and then we identified what providers exist to meet those program needs that older adults are requesting. So form first, and then we'll look at what's next. So we've got function defined. We've got a committee that's working on how to fund it. And then we'll start to look, is it a building that we have to build, or is it something that we can acquire, an existing building that just needs renovation? So we don't know yet, but we've got the function part down. Now we've got to make sure we have funding to make it happen. And then based on that, we'll determine where is it located. The feedback we've gotten from older adults living in the community is central. If we go to the north side, the people on the south side are saying, well, I'm never going to go there. If we go to the south side, when I moved here and lived on the campus, I'd ask staff, where should I look at homes? All the north siders said, don't look south side. There's nothing on the south side. We got everything on the north side. Talk to the south side and move to the south side because it's too congested on the north side. So we got to be dead center somewhere near the downtown and hopefully on a bus line where there's transportation and easy parking and accessibility. And we've got a few not-for-profit organizations that have talked about donating space in locations. So, and we'll definitely talk with the city to see if they have anything possibly available as well. But I just wanted you to be aware that this is moving forward, and it's getting a whole lot of support from every group that has been involved, and everybody who finds out about it. We tend to find more people who want to get involved. So it's moving in a really good direction. So with that, I'm going to move into my report. COVID update. We have one person in Porter McGrath who is still in isolation. That person came from the hospital where they contracted COVID, and they are a resident. They came back to us, and they are in isolation in Porter McGrath. Right now, that's the only person as a resident that's on campus that is COVID positive today. We've had a number of people who were in isolation for a period of time, but they've come out of isolation and they're in good shape. So we continue to monitor COVID. We continue to work with our clinical leaders and Dr. Haight and look at the risk exposure in the broader community. I do stress that if you have an immunocompromised illness, disease, you really should be thoughtful about wearing a mask, about good hand hygiene. The hospital is seeing the numbers go up, but it's really small numbers. If you're starting at 0 and it goes up to 1, the percentage is really high. So the numbers in total are low. So it isn't something that, although we're seeing it spike, we're not talking about huge numbers. But if you're somebody who has any type of respiratory issues or challenges, or somebody who has leukemia or any type of a significant ailment, wear the mask, you know, be more proactive with this risk. It's something that I think we're going to have to deal with for quite a while. When it comes to the vaccination, we're working with our pharmacy. We're now talking with Westminster because they have a pharmacy and working to see when can we get the vaccine for it scheduled here. Flu vaccines are already available. You'll see in the, at CVS and at some of the different pharmacies. We are talking to our pharmacy as well about setting up our normal flu vaccine shots, which usually we get to in late October. We get into the flu vaccine here. So we're working on that to get that for both residents and staff. We'll get that scheduled and set up. Any questions on COVID? We had one staff person that acquired COVID who was not on campus. They were away from campus when they acquired it, and so they are in isolation off campus. But right now, that's it. Any COVID questions or comments or thoughts? Okay. If you become symptomatic, please contact Katie Gannon, our community nurse. If it's during off hours when Katie's not here, contact second floor assisted living nurse. We only do testing when there's symptoms. We don't, if somebody says, well, you know, I was next to somebody, you know, at the airport and they were coughing a lot, I want to be tested. It's only if they're symptomatic do we do testing. And that's following a CDC requirement or recommendation. Okay. Idalia review. So I want to ask you, how was your experience here in that time frame when we were dealing with Idalia? What did we do well? What didn't we do well for you as residents in addressing the storm? Landis?
We watched all the people coming. We didn't know what was going on.
Okay.
And the other part of that, we would like to have been helpful if we had been given a chance. Many of us have extra rooms, so forth. So we would like to have been involved.
So there's a legal reason why you couldn't have been. So they were skilled nursing. So what Landis is referring to, and some of you may have read this, we had sent this out, I think, after. We have a sister, we have sister communities with Westminster. The Westminster community in Bradenton had to evacuate. They were in an evacuation zone. They had 200 residents between assisted living and skilled care that needed to find placement in a safe zone during the storm. They had 8 different communities that they sent their skilled care and assisted living residents to. We were one of the 8. We received about 30 residents. I think 10 were skilled care, if I remember, and it was 19 or 20 that were assisted living. And so because of COVID and because of the legalities of HIPAA, we couldn't invite our residents to come over or them to go to you. Well, the staff were taken care of, yeah. So what we did was we had, and I wouldn't want a staff person potentially catching something and then bringing it back either. So what happened was they came here with their own staff, about 15 staff members, that included mostly nurses and CNAs, but also life enrichment, and one of their cooks came, maintenance guys came, I think 2 maintenance guys came, and you saw they brought a bus, and they unloaded the bus, the residents in. The 10 residents that were skilled nursing were put in empty rooms that we had in Porter McGrath on the 1st floor, all in the same area. The assisted living residents were on the 2nd floor and on the first floor where we had space. We set up mattresses and cots. We set up rooms for the employees so they can go and have a shower room and a place to go sleep and take a break. So all of that was set up. They brought their own med carts, so they pretty much took care of their own. When they had questions, our staff was there to help them. When things came up that they needed some support from dining, Dean and his team did an amazing job. There were things like making sure they had boxed lunches for when they left, and things like that, just to make sure we were being good hosts. Excuse me, Landis. So that was why, and that's what we did. The feedback that we got was very positive from them. The thing that we talked about too with our staff is just imagine if it was us, you know, where you have residents that have been living in assisted living or skilled care. Some have some level of memory loss, and all of a sudden they're being put on a big bus and brought, you know, for an hour and a half, 2-hour drive to Lakeland, and the bus is emptying and the rain's starting to come down, and they're being pulled off the buses, and our therapy team was there to help them, you know, getting off and on buses, and our staff was there to make sure they got everything they needed and to communicate with them. I think, you know, knowing that they would do the same for us, it was very comforting to know that if we had a hurricane that came through the middle and we had to pick a coast, where do we go to avoid it, we had options, you know, and good options with Westminster. So is there other things that you guys experienced on the campus that we could have done better? How about communication, or Pat?
A compliment to staff. The idea of going and picking up things that might be loose and could blow around, I mean, maintenance did a fabulous job in going above and beyond, and more so than we saw in the storms last year. So just kudos. We were very impressed.
Thanks, Pat. We'll share that with Rick and his team. Yeah, so we can always learn, right? So if there's anything that you think of that you feel like we should be aware of, because honestly, I think part of the reason it went a little bit better was obviously it wasn't the storm that it could have been. That was a blessing. But I think we learned from Ian last year. We learned some things, and things that Tasha and Siobhan and the team put together for this year to kind of coordinate and be a little bit better organized and ready. We had, you know, staff that were staying overnight and doing rounds and being visible and getting out and about to check on things. I think, you know, our team did well, but again, we can always learn. So if there's things that you want us to be aware of that we could have done better, just let us know. We know that there's two storms that are out in the ocean, so we know we always need to learn during this time of year fast, but it looks like one is going to peter out. The one that is right off the coast of Africa, they don't seem as worried. The other one they're saying is going to head straight up north once it makes the turn, which they're assuming is going to be well before it hits any land. It won't hit land. It will go straight up the Atlantic. But as you guys know better than I do, the people who are Floridians, that can turn on a dime. So we're keeping our eye on it, and we're watching it. Please.
Neighborhood really appreciated Katie coming around with COVID kits, self-testing kits, because 3 people in our neighborhood were exposed to people with COVID, so we had those test kits.
That's great.
We really appreciated
the
that.
contact tracing part of so when someone has COVID, there's a contact tracing. So we talk to that person and find out in the past 48 hours, who have you been around? And so we bring the testing into the areas where they said, yeah, I've probably exposed these people, and that's where Katie's wonderful. And Katie is a superstar. I mean, she's got a heart for this, and she's just very knowledgeable, compassionate. We're very fortunate to have Katie. But thank you for sharing that, Marilyn. Any other items on Idalia? The next storm they name with an I, we're all going to head to the hills, because it just seems like it's always the ones with the named with the first letter I. The Westminster Affiliation and Alliance. So I just I've shared what's happening next Thursday and them coming out. As I shared also, we've started the transition meetings. So we're meeting with, Rick will be meeting with his lead from the Environmental Services Division of Westminster Services. Dean is already in communication with the VP of Dining Programming. So the teams are getting to know each other, and there's good communication, and they're learning about us and we're learning about them. They will come out in next week's meeting and share with you who they are, what they do, and why Florida Presbyterian Homes was important to them. I would tell you that I've been extremely impressed with the people that we've met, whether it was when we went on tours on their communities and met some of their staff in their communities and some of the residents, whether it's the executive team members that we've met with or board members that we've met with. The fit, I think, is excellent. You know, they're people that share a common sense of values to what we have here, and it's just been very natural. It's been a very natural affiliation. At this point now, we're waiting for ACA, the Healthcare Administration. We're waiting for OIR, Office of Insurance Regulation, for their approvals. Once we get their approvals, there'll be a closing document that both parties will sign, and basically what the closing document says is that all items have been met, and that's the official close of the affiliation transition. The process that we have been through, I think, has been a very thoughtful process. I think we've reviewed so much information from them. They reviewed so much information from us. But now is the time for them to be on the campus and see it and get to know it. And this introduction, this meet and greet is key. But I also, again, want to stress, if you say, well, what's going to happen to the dining program? What's going to happen? You know, I had a resident the other day, and she said, well, I have a friend that lives in Westminster. When I go back to my house, when I need medication, I'm just going to come over to the clinic here because they have a clinic, and I'll get my medication managed at the clinic. And I went, we don't have a clinic. I was like, they may have a clinic, but today we don't have a clinic. So we just have to allow them some grace, and we'll learn from them, and they'll learn from us. I have no idea. If you ask me, are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? I don't have an answer. I don't know. They need to figure that out, and they will. But they won't have all the answers next Thursday. That's something that this is more of an opportunity for both parties to get to know each other, for you as residents to get to know them, and for them to get to know you. It won't be the last time. So I know I've had a person that said, well, I can't make the lunch, and it doesn't mean you'll never see these people again. You will. They're very good about being accessible and visible in their communities. So we will be, I think the 12th of their life plan communities. 9, well now 10 with us, of the 12 were acquisitions. So they were organizations that they became the affiliate sponsor of. The last one was in St. Augustine. It was used to be called the Glenmore. The Glenmore went through 2 bankruptcies, double bankruptcies, and the state went to Westminster and said, would you please look at this? And would you please consider becoming the sponsor for this organization? So, and that's gone very well. So I think you'll see and get to know them. They know what they're doing. You know, they have a whole lot of good support team members, and I think you'll like them, and I think they'll like you as well. This will be a good thing for our organization. And just how they approach things, just as an example, I got a call from their chief HR officer, and I haven't even told our staff, but they're going to be sending gift cards, $50 gift cards for every employee of Florida Presbyterian Homes who is working during Idalia. And it's just the type of recognition. We did that once, I think it was in my first or second year here, and then financially we couldn't afford to do it anymore. And this is coming out of their corporate budget to say we want to recognize all the employees who are in each community that was affected in one way or another by Idalia. So they have a good culture, and they have the ability to do things that we wish we were able to do. Now they will be able to do them. So it's an exciting time. Are there questions or thoughts or comments? Anything? Please, Grace.
This 11 o'clock lunch next week.
Yeah.
11 o'clock lunch. It says meet and greet.
Yeah.
Is there going to be time to actually talk with these people there
Yeah.
at lunch?
Yeah, the question that Grace is asking, will there be time to actually talk with people? So our staff is going to, it's going to be like a buffet style. So our staff are going to do the service. So resident will come through with their plate and we'll provide them the food from Fred's Market. Their staff is going to be talking and sitting at tables to meet residents. So that's, they want to be sitting and meeting residents and talking to residents. And then with the chat, I don't think Terry plans on spending a lot of time doing a presentation and talking. I think he prefers to do the introductions and present, but then allow people to come up and meet him and his team. And I think that's how he would approach it, and I'm pretty sure that's how he's going to approach it. So you'll have opportunity to talk to them both at the lunch and at the chat as well. Good question. Thank you. Other thoughts, comments?
Joe, you mentioned the COVID vaccination. You mentioned our pharmacy in Westminster.
Right.
It would sound to me like this isn't a done deal with Westminster, so wouldn't that be out of the question, and we would be looking for our pharmacy, and do you have a time frame on that?
So the question comment was that this doesn't sound like a done deal because I mentioned we're talking with our pharmacy and their pharmacy. It's more along the lines of who can get here the soonest and who has access to be able to make this happen for us and our residents. That's really what it's about. In terms of the affiliation, I called so many providers here in Florida, outside of Florida, and asked them, is the OIR and ACA, is that a concern? Would they say no? Would they decline? Not one person said, yeah, they could decline. Not one. So I do believe the OIR and ACA are going to look at the fact that neither organization, when it comes to ACA, has any significant penalties or is in any type of a suspended license. That's the thing they would look at. and neither of us are. So I don't think ACA is going to have an issue. It's just, it almost goes back to what Siobhan was talking about earlier. Do they have the staff to turn it around quickly? And that's the only thing, just timing. But yeah, it's moving forward, and I don't see ACA or OIR saying no. They have no reason to. I mean, considering OIR brought Westminster in to help an organization that went through a double bankruptcy, and we're in much better financial health than they were, they're not going to turn on Westminster all of a sudden. Did that answer your question? It's really in OIR and ACA's hands. We don't know. We could get a notification tomorrow. Oh, on the no, sir. We're still communicating with the two pharmacies to see when and how quickly they can get something set up. And if one's able to do it faster than the other, that's the one we'll go with. Good question. Thank you. Please.
When it comes to getting shots, is that going to be something that's going to be billed to us, or do we use our own insurance? Or?
Medicare for the flu vaccine, if you went into Walgreens or CVS, it would be under your Medicare. It's the same here. The pharmacy will bill through Medicare to get your vaccine. Yeah.
I guess everybody here, I know I have my own insurance, you know. And I was just wondering if I need to use that.
Are you registered with Medicare?
Yeah, but I also have a supplement.
No, it would be covered under Medicare. Yeah, good question. The vaccine would be covered under Medicare. Landis?
Public's call, they have it available.
Yeah.
And you can make an appointment or walk in.
The problem is they won't do it for a group anymore.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
most people in here go to them.
So at Landis is good. Thanks, Landis. We used to have Publix come here and do both the residents and the employees. When COVID started, they said we're no longer going to be doing that. I think they did the first year and then they stopped. But as Landis is pointing out, thank you, anyone can walk into Publix, make an appointment, and get the vaccine now. And it's covered under Medicare. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Please.
It's my understanding that the COVID vaccine update is not covered under Medicare. It's just the flu.
It's what we're, I'll talk to Dr. Haight and get a clarification, but my understanding was it would be covered under Medicare. Yeah, I hope for your sake. I know, yeah, I think it is. I think the last thing I heard was covered under Medicare.
I think that's true. I got 2 shots yesterday. But not COVID yet because the new one hasn't come in.
Right.
But I got pneumonia and the flu shot, and they were both free. Even the shingles shot is now free under Medicare.
Good. Thank you. Thanks, Lucia. Any other comments, thoughts, questions? Any other topics you guys want to cover? Please.
I had a conversation that maybe people will not think this is a good idea. But I was walking the dog, and a new mailman stopped me, and he said, "Ma'am, could you tell me where the mail boxes are that I can put this mail in?" And I said, "No, we're individual houses." And he just stared at me like, I'm supposed to do all of this mail from house to house? And I feel like it's I know that we're not the post office, but as these houses get added and we have more and more people getting mail, this is very disrespectful to the mail people that are coming and going door to door to door. I just watch it in our area, Waverly Court, and all the houses. And it's so hot for 5 months of the year that I just want to put out there that some places have a place where you go for everyone to just get their mail. I know that would be a problem for some people, but I just would like to bring that up out of concern for these post people that deliver. And then the other, that's my concern, and then the other request I have is that could you have someone write a report that we could read on what's being done with the recycling?
Okay.
I think
What's
we're
being done with
messing up
recycling?
a program that might work, but I don't think we're doing it at all correctly.
And the
And
state of Florida is not doing it at all correctly as well.
And so
I
we
mean,
might
that's
as well
also part of
stop.
it.
And we're putting more workload on people
And the
doing the
county's not.
recycling, doing it twice
Yeah.
when it's not helping at all. So I'd like a
Yeah.
report from somebody on that and to just go on record that we either do it right or we don't do it at all.
Well, when I moved here, and I'm out off of 540A, and it's basically unincorporated Lakeland. And I looked at what I can recycle. It's basically nothing. I've got it taped above my recycling bin, and it's basically clean cardboard, brown clean cardboard. Can't be any paper that has any print on it. Can't have any paper that has any sheen to it. No glass. The only plastic is no clear plastic, no colored plastic, just the milk carton type plastic. And I'm like, it's a waste. I mean,
But if we just
I
take,
know
if
it
we
isn't, but
just
that's the
take the
county.
Amazon Prime boxes that come into this place on a daily basis and just do cardboard, that would be helping.
Yeah.
And because it's all being tossed into a dump, where if we know that we can cut up boxes and do some service in that way, then let's get out of all the rest and contaminate it and just do cardboard. That
You
would
know what
be
I'd
better
like to
than what we're
do?
doing.
And I'll look into this. I'd like to get the company that we use for recycling to come out and do a program on recycling and what actually gets recycled and get it from the horse's mouth as to what happens with these items. And yeah. But here's what the news reported about 2 weeks ago. It was on the news. It was Polk County. And what they said was that the recycling that we think is being recycled, it's about 5%. So to put you guys and say, all you guys have to do all this with your boxes, you have to do all this with your glass, and 5% is all that's actually getting recycled, I think we need to learn that first and learn what is the value of it, because to have residents do all the work and then there isn't, they're not doing the right things with it, I don't think that's good. Neil?
Yeah, what you mentioned, is this working? Yeah. You're talking about the county.
Yeah.
We're going to the city, and the city regulations, Lisa put out a very nice
Okay.
brochure this year, last year, explaining what we're supposed to do, and unless we're going to change the city's plans, they're taking a lot more than the county is.
Okay. So we'll find out from the company that we use, have them come out and do a program on what actually gets recycled and what the value of it is.
She got this from the city.
Okay.
Put it out, and it was very
For the city, yeah. Thank you, Neil.
About 2 years ago, I worked with maintenance, and we contacted the appropriate person at the city of Lakeland about recycling, and they gave us all new cards that showed exactly what we could recycle, what was appropriate to put in the boxes, what isn't. The only area of this campus that is not handled by the city is Terrace Gardens, Waverly. The rest of the campus is all strictly under the city of Lakeland. So the only area where our maintenance people are picking up recycling is Terrace Gardens in Lakeland. And the lady that I worked with was very knowledgeable. You might want to just check with Rick about that whole issue, and it might be easily resolved.
Definitely will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think all of the above answers are correct, but
Yeah.
I think the situation is changing. I think it would be wonderful if we could have the City of Lakeland recycling coordinator come, and that would be great, and just people could have their questions answered. But we're talking about two different things. It's one about how does everybody that doesn't get it picked up individually handle it? In other words, how do we handle it corporately on the community campus? And then everybody individually, how they do it. But one of the issues about stopping to do recycling is many of the permits that are tied to local governments and also to the county landfill still have the requirements for recycling in. So there's reasons they have to continue to encourage it even when much of it winds up in the landfill. So it's way more complex than probably all of these levels. But the recycling coordinator would be a great option
you.
at the city to answer our questions.
Thank you. I'll follow up with Rick and we'll research that and see if we can get him or her out here. Any other comments, thoughts, questions, topics? Okay. If not, it's 1:15. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate you. Let's see. Thanks, Seta.